Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Days to Happy Podcast, where we talk about all things mental health, all things in wellness, and we have a number of different guests that are coming online, and we are starting with our founder and CEO, Corey Davis. Corey, thank you for making the time today. How are you?
Maurice, this is going to be a good ride together, brother. We are going to have a lot of fun, a lot of smiles, a lot of learnings, and it's going to be a good time.
I agree wholeheartedly. And for those of you that might not know Corey, he is one of the most humble individuals that you can ever meet. And his sense of purpose is astounding when it comes to wanting to make a difference and improve lives in the lives of others, and especially in the realm of mental health. And so it's an interesting play into Days to Happy. I mean, I work with you. I love our meetings and such, but can you tell us, how did Days to Happy start?
Yeah, great question. Well, you grow up and you always want to make a difference. And that's kind of the goal of all of us in life, is to leave an impression, make a difference. And so the whole journey happened, it was actually a few years ago. I was heading up marketing for a tech company, and I've headed up marketing for lots of different tech companies throughout my career. And I was at this one company, there was about 200 employees, and I was asked to create a company culture, and really to help all the employees be happy and engaged at work. And there were some things at play that I learned that we could do to really help people be happy at work. And it all started with this story. And I'm wondering if I should share this story now or if I should wait around the power of the flower. But maybe I'll share that after. But let me just give kind of just a quick overview, where a few years ago, I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I was VP of Global for a division of Intuit. And I decided to either go get my PhD in positive psychology, or do I start a company to help people be happy? And so I realized that I could do more good if I started a company to help people be happy. And so that's when I left Intuit and decided to go out on my own a few years ago and to start the company Days to Happy, with the goal to help 1 billion people be happy. And so I like to say we're on our way.
I believe so 100%. And you started out as an employee engagement company, if I remember correctly, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was where we started. And that's where I'll just share this. So it was a few years ago when I was head of marketing for this tech company, and I was brought on to help grow the company. I realized, how do I help all these employees be happy and engaged at work if we're about to experience hyper growth? And so I ended up doing some interesting things. And I think some people are like, Corey, you're kind of crazy. But we all met, and this is really what got me started in employee engagement. And so we all met in the parking lot of a shopping mall. Right. And we divided into groups of 20. So there were 20 people in front of me, and I handed them each a flower. And I told them to go into the mall and to find someone to hand the flower to. And it was so interesting because you had the developers, they're like, Corey, we don't like to be away from our desk. We don't like to talk to people. What are you making us do? You had the customer support team, and they were okay doing it. You had the chief financial officer thinking, okay, how much is this costing the company right now? You had the sales reps, and most of them were guys, and they're like, oh, I got to go find a cute girl to hand a flower to, which was kind of funny. But I told them, okay, after you do that, we'll meet back in the boardroom. And they didn't know that I was actually going to go talk to the people that they handed the flower to. So they all left, went inside, and I went in and talked to the people that they handed the flower to, which was fascinating. So we all meet back in the boardroom. So now we're back in the boardroom. I'm standing in front of lots of different people. And because the developers are the ones that gave me the hardest time, one of them's name was Bob. I said, Bob, when you handed the person the flower, what happened? And he's like, well, she smiled. I'm like, wow. And then I said, Bob, what did you do? He's like, well, I smiled too. And I'm like, so just in a few seconds, you both smiled. Pretty magical. But then this is where it got real. I said, Bob, do you know who you handed the flower to? He's like, I have no idea. I said, well, let me tell you. Her name's Michelle. She was sitting in the mall with her friends, having one of the worst days of her life. And as she was sitting there, not knowing what she was going to do, maybe even suicidal, struggling with life. And as she's sitting there, this stranger walks up and hands her a flower. And it totally changed the day, and it could have even saved her life. And I said, Bob, that was you. And you could just see this shy developer just light up. And I'm like, Bob, you didn't even have to say anything. And you just made a huge difference in someone's lives. And really, you could have saved her life. And you can just see Bob, he changed. And there was another developer, Steve, and he was giving me a hard time too. I'm like, Steve, do you know who you gave the flower to? And he's like, no, I have no idea. I'm like, her name's Samantha. She's never received a flower before from anybody before in her life. And you're the first person to give her a flower. Do you think she's ever going to forget? And Steve just like, whoa, no. And it was so interesting in this setting with all these employees in a business setting where this power of serving and helping others and just taking a minute to make a difference in people's lives. We were trying to focus on service, a culture around service, but that experience really shaped what we did as a company. And even I remember the VP of sales came up afterwards just in tears. He's like, Corey, what we just went through is going to change my approach to business and to sales. And I've taken that with me wherever I've gone, and it even prompted me to write a book called 3 Days to Happiness to just help people be happy and engaged in life. And so with this whole journey, that was a key thing. We call that the power of the flower. But that together with some other stories was kind of a catalyst to us going into employees and employee engagement. And whenever I'd come on as head of marketing, I would roll out an employee engagement program. And so that's where we started, is we built this behavior change platform helping employees be happy and engaged at work.
That's great. And that engagement is it's a massive problem within the U.S. I did a study. Matter of fact, I gave a presentation a couple of weeks ago in North Carolina and found out that across all generations, 50% of the workforce is not engaged.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, and some are even saying it's 60 to 70% and not engaged. So it's
Well,
powerful.
and
Yeah.
the more powerful thing though is when we first met, you told me why they weren't engaged, and wondering if you could go on there because that has everything to do with the pivot.
Totally,
Just
yeah.
happy,
Well, it's
right?
interesting. We started around COVID time and a little bit before COVID. And when we were starting our employee engagement company, we actually found out that most of the employees were burned out emotionally, mentally. So we realized that to truly improve the engagement of employees and to really meet our mission to help 1 billion people be happy, we had to pivot into mental health and really address the mental health of employees. But then we also found too, because we built a mental health platform that sits on top of our behavior change platform, we can help hundreds of thousands of university and college students across the country as well. And so we pivoted the company, transitioned into a mental health offering. And coming out of that, it's so powerful what we've built on top of the original behavior change platform that we can change behavior at scale. And now we're able to improve depression and anxiety and happiness in a matter of weeks that we could never do before. And it really resonates with what we're trying to do at Days to Happy, is to make a difference. And I always like to quote Steve Jobs. One of his great quotes is, those that are crazy enough to believe that they can change the world are the ones that do. And so this pivot into mental health and being in a position now to be able to go in, whether it's a company or a college or university with thousands and thousands of users, we can make a difference with millions at scale in a matter of seconds and minutes and improve their mental health and well-being at scale.
Yes. And when I first heard how you were going to do that, I was in a sense of wow, because you look at the traditional mode of dealing with mental health, you have the picture of the counselor going in,
All right.
right? And the other just fascinating statistic was how many people actually utilize mental health services in their organization. And I didn't realize it was in the low single digits. I had no idea. And then having more discussions, what was it, 85% feel burnt out? Is
Yeah, and
that
depressed
about
and burnt
right?
out and sad. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Just the
even with
way.
the employee assistance programs that get, a 5% or less utilization rate. So no one's really using them. And
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting, but a huge opportunity for us to make a difference.
It really is. My goodness. And speaking of making a difference, there was a story that you told about a father.
Yeah,
Can you just
yeah.
kind of go into that because it really lends itself to the mission of what we're trying to accomplish at Days to Happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is really where the purpose of Days to Happy was really solidified for me, because we always want to create a great company, but we want to do something that makes a bigger, really has a bigger good that's attached to it. And when you
Yeah.
can get both of these together, that's when you have just something that's magical. And so it was a few years ago, I was up on stage and I was rolling out something on what we were doing around just burnout and employee engagement, employee happiness, and just helping people thrive in all aspects of their lives. And I like people to experience really what they're going to experience with Days to Happy. So I was on stage and I told everybody stand up. I told them to take out their cell phones. And so they all took out their cell phones and I had them to just they just started typing this text message. So I said, start typing this. I think you're awesome. Just wanted to let you know. Don't worry about who you're going to send it to. So just start typing that. So they eventually did that. And I said, okay, as soon as you're done with that, now put in someone's name that you're going to send it to. And once you figure out who you're going to send it to, then just customize that. I think you're awesome. Just wanted to let you know. Just customize it so it feels genuine and personal from you. And then as soon as you click send, then you can sit down. So you have hundreds of people in the room. They all take different amounts of time. Some took a few seconds, some took a few minutes, but eventually everybody sat down. And so I asked them, who did you send a text message to? And they said, oh, roommate, colleague, spouse, friend, different people, boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. But then this one gentleman raises his hand and he says, I haven't talked to my dad in 3 years. And I felt like I should just send a text message to my dad. And everybody in the room just started clapping, like, whoa, that's incredible. And so I'm up on stage, and so I continue my presentation. But then a few minutes later, this gentleman raises his hand and he says, I got a text message back from my dad. And everybody in the room just was like, oh, and it just got quiet. And it was just like, what just happened? And then someone was like, well, what did it say? And so then he read us the text and it said something like, son, your text message meant the world to me. Sorry, I've been a crappy dad, but I want to figure out how we can talk and come together. And everybody in the room is just like, what just happened?
Mhm.
And within a few seconds, just a simple text to a father, now a father and a son are coming together. And you probably know this, Maurice. You've been in front of lots of different people before on stage. You don't always know exactly what you're going to say.
Right.
And so that happened to me at this moment. I didn't know what I was going to say. And I'm standing there. This just happened. And this is what came out of my mouth. I said, a lot of you don't know me personally. And you don't know that I lost my dad when I was one, when he drowned in a river accident in Northern California. I've always wanted my dad around. Do you know what I would give right now to just get a simple text message from my dad? I would do anything. Like that would mean the world to me. If I was able to read a text that says, hey, son, I think you're awesome. Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
And it was at that moment I realized that's the purpose of Days to Happy,
Mhm.
that we can leverage technology to do things that we probably couldn't have done a few years ago, but bring it together with the science of depression and anxiety and cognitive behavioral therapy, leveraging technology and the human connections to make a difference in people's lives. And when that happened with this son and this father, I realized that's what we're all about at Days to Happy. And we want that to happen with millions of people across the country and across the world, because that's where we do need those connections. And there are things that we can do to bring a father and a son together and to help people be happy in all aspects of their life.
I want to thank you for those stories simply because it just goes to show the power of doing something simple to
Yeah.
connect. Sometimes I think we overthink, and especially when it's our own just our own mental states, or mental health, whatever you might call it. It's just that one little thing. And that's either we take the proactivity to do it or we are touched by or influenced by someone else. And those stories just go a long way because I'm thinking every time in my life it's been a small intervention that has led to some great things. And I'm just grateful to be a part of this and wanted to thank you for your time and telling us the background of Days to Happy and looking forward to the impact you have and to the guests that will be coming on and sharing like stories. I think this is going to be a great way to set the pace. So thanks, Corey.
Yeah, this is going to be a good ride, Maurice. Exciting times ahead, I like to say.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, let's make it happen.
All right, good stuff.